Hey, I'm Cameron. I've been climbing for probably about 4 or 5 years now. It all started when I had a pulmonary embolism, actually. So they said that one of the reasons I had that was through extended periods of inactivity. So that was a bit of inspiration to try and be a little bit more active, and that's when I started peak bagging. Last year I did Olympus in Greece, I did Ararat in Turkey. And this year I'm heading over to the United States to do Mount Baker up in Washington. So just doing a bit of alpining. And New Zealand, obviously, that's always been the pinnacle of mountain climbing over there, which is what drew me to Mitre Peak. There were quite a few logistical things that we had to sort out. And I mean, if you look at them in order, the first difficult thing that we had to overcome was getting across the sound, which is about 2 kilometers. It's ice cold water. It's filled with orcas and sharks and a whole lot of things that you don't want to swim with. Then once you get over to the other side, then you had the obstacle of lugging all your gear for multiple days up this mountain. There's no water up there as well. So we had a lot of things that we had to think through. What I learnt was that due to a lot of accidents that had happened on the mountain, or people who had fallen off, or people who hadn't come back at the right time, a lot of the vendors, so the water taxi had cut it off. They said they weren't going to take anybody anymore. The kayak hire, they stopped allowing people to go over there as well. I really wanted to get my own kayak, and I thought, well, the inflatable one's probably the way to go, because that way I might be able to actually bring it on the plane rather than trying to desperately find a kayak once I get to New Zealand. And the Advanced Elements one was the one that what stood out to me because the reviews were excellent. It could take the weight, it could track straight, and it wasn't one of those kayaks that it looks great in the picture. So yeah, that's why I picked the Advanced Elements one based on primarily the reviews. So the first obstacle was getting it on the plane. It's a fairly compact for what it is, and it packs up to around 23 kilos or so, which is, that's enough that you can actually take it on a domestic flight as well, and on international flights fine. So checked it in. There was no issues checking it in, no issues at the other end either. So then the next obstacle was actually getting it to the foot of the mountain. We learned that it was good that we could do it quickly because we were getting eaten alive by the flies. Absolutely insane there. And luckily this thing, we were able to pump it up, and I think we got going in about 10 minutes or so. So it's a pretty quick sort of setup, and you could probably do it quicker if you had done it a few times. So I'd done it once before, and I was able to set it up that quickly. So on the way there, it had the obstacle of being loaded with so much weight, because we were carrying probably about 15-20 liters of water, and you have all the gear as well, tents and everything, and then the two of us, and it tracked excellently. We made good progress on that. It was about 2 kilometers, maybe a little bit more, 2 to 3 kilometers, and we did it in under an hour. So we made good time. It tracked really straight. We landed there. We were able to deflate it, put it back in the bag. So it's really good for the purpose that we had. We probably were a little bit rough on it because we had to drag it up onto the rocks. When we were actually landing anywhere, it was kind of just running up really, really quickly and not knowing how to sort of hit our speed exactly right, and then grinding up on the rocks. It was fine. We had a look at the bottom of it afterwards. It wasn't even a scratch on it. So you look at the the bottom of it, and it's just tough. It's so thick, and what scratches there are, there's so many different layers to it as well. I don't know what your chances are of actually putting a hole in it. So it did great. We had a meteorologist who was standing by giving us advice on what the weather would be, and the day before the weather changed, as it does in the Milford Sound. It's they say it's one of the wettest places on Earth. So we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and the day we went out there, we knew that it was going to be, a perfect day for that day, and then the next day it was going to be miserable. We got to the campsite, and it's just as well that they have some of the best views there. It was just phenomenal. So we spent the night there, and we woke up in the morning, and You know, we had a perfect sunrise, but that was about as far as the weather was going to enable us. And then it was just, after that, it was just miserable. It was rainy, it was windy, we had the cloud base dropping, and so we made an assessment and thought if we go for the summit, then, you know, we might get up there, but then on the way back down, we're probably going to be fighting some pretty hectic weather. So we made the call, we descended back down, and so when we got back to the kayak, we were thinking, this might put it to the test. So we inflated it, got it in the water, and sure enough, I mean, the waves were cresting reasonably high. You had the wind that was blowing right against us as well. So we were wondering how it would go. And the further we went, the more we realized that actually, even in those conditions, it tracked straight. We made good progress. Not quite as fast as the day before, but we made good progress. And even in those conditions, we were able to sort of bounce over the waves as well. So they weren't cresting and flooding the kayak. So on the way back, it really proved that it was the right kayak for the job. If we brought pack rafts on that, for instance, I think we would have been swimming back without our gear. I think for the price point, it's, you know, the best thing you can get on the market. If you want to go and get like a fiberglass one, if you want to get like a rigid one, and, you know, think of the amount of space that it's going to be taking up. It takes up, you know, an entire garage space. You know, I've got it sitting in my garage right now, just next to my car. It takes up the same amount of space as just a suitcase. So to have that I can go do the exact same thing that you could do with a full rigid kayak, and I can do, and I'm a little bit strapped for space at the moment. So not only can I keep it somewhere, keep it in my garage, not have to worry about it, not have to move it every time I take the car out, and then if I want to go anywhere else, because you think once you get a kayak, you're kind of limited to the range of, you know, if you can put on your car, you're really limited to sort of just around where you live. I'm limited to nowhere. And 23 kilos, I can take it anywhere in Australia, I can take it anywhere internationally. I think it's the perfect arrangement.